Welcome to the Guitar Dads Podcast, a podcast for guitar dads by guitar dads. This week, it's their lives, it's now or never for Bon Jovi. Bulls parade into the Rock Hall. Huge news from the Slash camp. PRS gives great head. And are you an impatient pedal player? We're switching it up this week on the Guitar Dads Podcast. Now, the guys who would switch out this pod for, well, really anything else, Matt and Dave.
Hello, everybody. I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave, and welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome and welcome.
Welcome. So here we are.
We are here. It's we got some news to get to tonight, and
There's
lots
a lot
of other stuff.
Yeah, we're bringing to this. We got some really hot breaking news we have to talk about. Hot off the presses. It won't be hot off the presses by the time you're listening to this, but
yeah,
that's why we're going to discuss it. There's a lot going on, but first, let's just thank all our listeners and give them the spiel, Dave.
So thank you guys for listening each week. We appreciate you, loyal listeners. And if you are new to the show, please come back and try us out again. We hope we're bringing you some enjoyable content. You know where you can find us at Guitar Dads Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Come join our group. Have some fun. And if you want to support the show, please go over to patreon.com/Guitar Dads Podcast, where we have a multitude of tiers for you to check out. If you so choose, we would appreciate the support. And I think that is it.
That's it. And thank you to our patrons for your support. You make this possible. And like Dave said, if you would like an extra episode of the Guitar Dads Podcast every week, you can go to patreon.com/Guitar Dads. There you go. All right, off. Here we are.
All right. Shall we head there? Let's go there.
Hold on. Stand by.
Stand by. Second week in a row.
Stand by.
Anyway, all right.
Did you hear it?
I barely heard it. I don't know if anybody
let's do it
heard
again.
Oh, now
you
I heard it
that time.
You know what that sound means? We're headed
dataverse.
into the Dataverse. All right, so we're gonna get to the big news in our headlining segment, right? So we're gonna do news and notes now, and they hit the other stuff later. So wait for that.
Yes.
Stay tuned for the big stuff later.
Wait
but there was
for
a big.
It.
Wait for it. There was a big announcement. We do have a big announcement to make at some point on this pod very, very soon. We can't really give you a lot of details about it just yet, but around possibly Black Friday, maybe after, we're not quite sure. We still have to kind of work things out, but we do have an announcement to make, which you guys will definitely not want to miss.
And that Dave just gave a little hint about around Black Friday, so that's what it is. So
well, yeah, but I mean that could be anything.
It could be anything. It could, yeah. So anyway.
Right. But yeah, so let's move on to stuff we can talk about. So we talked about this in the Facebook group at Guitar Dads Podcast. Come over and hang out. Rage Against the Machine into the Rock Hall. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I think Rage was great, so I think they should go into the Rock Hall. Why the heck not?
Because of all the other bands they've jumped
not?
over. That's why.
Yeah, but Rage is great. We've had this conversation with the nominations.
I didn't say Rage wasn't great. I'm just saying I don't think they're yet deserving of the Rock Hall.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
See, you're not supposed to agree. You're supposed to disagree.
What was this latest class? Because what was the latest class that just got inducted?
The latest class. Yeah, go ahead and look that up because I'm going to go off on my rant real quick here. I don't think Rage has the staying power that other bands. Hear me out, listeners. I don't think Rage has a staying power that other bands have that have not been allowed into the Rock Hall. Okay, so that's where I stand with that. I think they've been incredibly influential. True. They've influenced. They're kind of on. I'm not putting them on the same echelon as Nirvana, but I do think they kind of they mix both worlds. What's the expression I'm looking for? They're in between both, between the pop culture world and the music world. and they're very influential in both. And so I think that matters. But like we talked about on Facebook, it really depends on what the criteria are, because if it's and I listed them out, I looked it up, and this is exactly what the Rock Hall uses for their criteria. So go check out
Yeah.
Facebook, and you can check that out and tell me if I'm right or wrong, because I don't know if they fit the criteria.
If who does?
If Rage does.
What, like, why not?
I just think they're heavily weighting their influence on this versus the music, their staying power, and their impact on music itself. Not just, I think they're heavily weighting their cultural influence more than their
like
musical
what, like their
influence.
political activism.
Their
You mean?
political, yeah, yep.
Okay,
I do.
interesting. All right. Well,
I
maybe
really
you're
do.
right. I don't know. Maybe you're right. But Tom Morello was the only one that showed up. Okay,
He was.
because they're an anti-establishment band. That's called Rage Against. The freaking name's band is Rage Against the Machine, right? So like the fact that they're in a very establishment thing, but that's been such a kind of ironic thing about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame all along. You know what I mean? That it's like weird that these anti-establishment bands get inducted into the Rock Hall, and I think Tom Morello took it as an honor that it kind of is, and I think he sees it as a positive thing that a band that can be so kind of counterculture can be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But some people would say, and I think the other members of the band just felt like, no, this is BS. We don't want to be a part of that. We don't want to be accepted into this. So they didn't show up. So more true to the form of what Rage is. But I think Tom, Tom's Tom. Tom is part of the kind of rock royalty establishment. He just is, right? He just is.
He totally is.
So, the fact that he showed up and did it, it is what it is. Do they belong? I mean, this is like an age-old conversation. Do they belong over other bands that aren't in? I mean, probably not, but they're a great band. They put out some awesome stuff, so I'm not going to say it's bad that they're in. The other inductees this year were Sheryl Crow, Willie Nelson, the Spinners. The Spinners? What the hell?
Exactly. But Willie Nelson, long deserved. I mean, that's overdue.
Yeah, Willie Nelson, yeah. But Willie Nelson's been in, like, the Country Hall of Fame forever. I don't think he cares about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, to be honest with you. It's like the Dolly Parton thing. It's like, why are we going to country artists now? Like,
but the Spinners? Really?
The Spinners, like, what the hell? Anyway.
And I'll tell you what. It's like, so I'm going to read this to you. This is directly from the Rock Hall's website.
Let's hear
factors such as an artist. Oh, here we go. Yep. Factors such as an artist's musical influence on other artists, length and depth of career and body of work, innovation and superiority in style and technique are taken into consideration. So, if you're gonna, okay. So here's the thing. This is why I say I feel like they've heavily weighted influence. And not necessarily on other artists. I think it's more on the culture, on social, pop culture. That's the term I'm looking for. Jeez, I think they've influenced pop culture more than the music culture, and I think that's.
But they did. We've had that in some of this conversation is happening on the Facebook page. They did create a unique sound, Dave, that was influential, right? Like they did this kind of, you could argue Aerosmith.
Is it unique?
You could argue Aerosmith and Run DMC did the kind of rap and rock thing, way ahead of Rage Against the Machine, but they had their own style of this rap rock thing. And Tom Morello as a guitarist with his techniques and the scratching and the whammy stuff that he did, like that was a new kind of thing that people hadn't heard before.
It was
like to do like a record scratching guitar solo, like that was new and unique, and it was a cool thing. So I think we got to give him credit for that kind of thing as being an influential thing and doing like super original stuff, right? I think we just have to give him credit for that.
It's a good
and Tom
point.
Morello, as I think we touched on this in the stupid Rolling Stone list. Like Tom Morello, he is an influential guitarist. He deserves to be on that list.
He absolutely does.
Well,
here's the misconception, dude. Here's the misconception when you say somebody doesn't belong in the Rock Hall, you are immediately like, people want to hang you because they think you're insulting the artist. You're not. You're really.
No, that's true.
I mean, we can use sports as an analogy. Just because I say one player in the NFL doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame doesn't mean that he was a great play. He wasn't a great player. It just means that maybe he didn't elevate himself to that level that belongs that he deserves that kind of recognition. And I think in this case, Rage is an incredible band, incredibly influential. You can't deny their body of work and what they did. And you're right about Tom Morello's innovation, but I feel like they've really jumped a ton of other bands that have been long in waiting.
But they've been doing that for years, right? Like,
that's just the Rock Hall, right? That's who they are.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're incorrect. I'm just saying, like, this is the MO of the Rock Hall. It is what it is. This is why it's like, yeah, you and I love to talk about this because it's a thing and it's kind of exciting to talk about. But, you know, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is kind of a bullshit thing. It
is a bullshit thing. It's a total bullshit thing.
You know,
Go ahead, comment if you don't agree with me.
It just is what it is. It's like we can find ultimate flaws with the other people that were inducted. By the way, this is where this is where the stuttering
Can we go back to the Spinners? Can we go back to the Spinners, please?
Kate Bush.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? And who else?
I need to get the list. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you another.
And Missy Elliott.
And Missy Elliott. That's right. Yes.
Missy Elliott, you know, like you could probably make the same argument with Missy Elliott that we just made with Rage Against the Machine. Like, is she really that like influential in hip hop? Like, was she? I'm not a big hip hop guy, but
I neither am I. But as far as I understand, I believe she is. But I have I'm sure there's like
some
to hip hop.
I'm sure there's some hip hop podcast talking about this, and they're like, "Oh, did she? You know, what did she do? You know, like I don't know."
I think here's my final point on it. Well, actually, two more points, but one big point is this: I think when you look at the artists that are getting in, the first thing you need to do is look at the artists that have not gotten in and decide for yourself, because it's all opinion. Do you believe the artists that didn't get in deserve to be in over the artists that did get in? And that's really all that matters, right?
I think that's right. And you can make a lot of those arguments a lot. Like the Spinners is like such an obscure thing, right? And, you know, you can think of all these other amazing bands, but everybody has their pet bands and their favorite bands. You know, there's probably a Spinners fan listening to this right now. Like, what the hell are you talking about? They're the greatest band in the world. Fine, but it's like it sounds like I agree with you, Dave. I feel like they've bypassed more deserving bands, and they're on this like weird like track of recognizing these bands that were like, you know, yeah, they probably had their heyday, but it's like, is this really what the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is going to become? I mean, I don't know.
Listen, dare I say, and this is, you know, I question whether I even should say this, but I'm going to anyway because I think I can defend myself here. Dare I say, in the times that we live, in the political atmosphere and environment that we've just lived through in the last few years, do you think this was more of a political acceptance into the Hall of Fame more than musical?
Dude, I mean, it could be. I mean, it could be, right? But there are all these people that across the country that vote, right? So it's like all these music critics and DJs and people like Eddie Trunk that vote. We should be voting, you and I, from the Guitar Dads podcast here.
Yeah, why doesn't the Rock? We've talked about this. Why doesn't the Rock Hall have like a fan vote, like the NBA All-Star game? You know, like
they should totally
MLB All-Star game, right?
They should totally
why
do
can't
that.
you get like a fan vote? You know,
Dave, you could be right about this like political activism thing that they're, but you know, you also got to admit like they were a very, you know, hardcore political activist band, and you're probably right. They're probably getting some credit for that, and that probably pushes them up a little bit more than other bands because they were so hardcore into this political activism and saying things in songs like "I'm rolling down Rodeo with the shotgun." Like that's provocative shit to be saying. Right,
it is.
You know, like in a rock, like in that kind of rock kind of genre, it was more like a provocative thing to say, right?
Right.
So you know,
Here's my last point, though.
Right.
Here's my last point, and this is more along the lines of like the Grammys and the popularity kind of aspect of the whole thing. Motley Crue. very well known for not being in the Rock Hall. They absolutely deserve it. Talk about longevity. I mean, you can say what
Not
you will
now.
what they're doing now. Not well, right. Okay, and whether Vince can sing and all that stuff. But anyway,
yeah, that doesn't matter.
You know,
it doesn't.
They've
matter.
sold 100 million records. Rage,
yeah. Why
has
aren't
sold
they in the
16
Rock?
million.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point. If you go by like just
Another band,
sales alone,
I mentioned this in Facebook. Boston, 75 million records sold. You know, hugely influential.
No, you're right.
Not in the Rock Hall.
But Boston. So here, I love Boston. You know, Boston's very near and dear to my heart. But they did not have a super long and sustained career, right? But neither did But here's the thing: neither did Zeppelin. Neither did the Beatles.
Nope.
Right? Zeppelin was together for like basically 10 years. The Beatles were together
12 years
in the format they were for 12 years. Like this is what it is, right?
So then are you saying, if we're going to use the term longevity, right? If that's going to be one of the criteria, because again, let's go back to this.
I think it means like
they're talking about length,
influence on music.
They do say length and depth of career, right? So, I mean, I don't think there's any question. I don't think there's any question about the influence that the Beatles and Zeppelin had in their shorter careers than some of these other bands. There's no question.
When you compare like a band like Motley Crue or Boston to the Spinners,
I mean,
like I mean, I don't like are the Spinner like anyway. I mean, they tend to go like way back in like. What they're on this trend of, they're going way back and they're trying to recognize, early influential bands, right? The Spinners were, in case anybody doesn't know who the Spinners are, I'm not trying to bash them. I just think they're they're more obscure band than, what we're used to hearing. I mean, they were from the 50s. They started in the 50s and they had hits in the 60s and 70s. But it's like, they're like pulling up these kind of forgotten bands, right? And, so anyway.
Yeah, it's, look at that. We have absolute breaking news on this topic right now.
What is it?
This is very timely. It looks like it has just been announced that the same voters of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame also voted on the Rolling Stone 250 greatest guitarists list.
Oh, that's just in?
Just in, folks.
Okay, all right. Let's move on from this one. I've had enough of this. This is annoying.
I know. I've had.
We're burning up time in this podcast.
Well, that's what you do.
Because we got to talk about Bon Jovi and we got to talk about the other big news. So
okay, so anyway, so another interesting news note that news piece that hit this week was we are coming up on the 40th anniversary of Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
And, if you are an avid listener to this podcast, where Matt and I kind of stand on all this.
We love Jovi.
Huge Bon Jovi fans, but John hasn't been able to sing for like 12 years.
Probably longer, but yeah.
And probably longer. No, actually, maybe we looked at this last weekend, right?
Yeah, that's true, because there's some live recordings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
So maybe 10 years. Yeah, maybe 8 to 10. Anyway, but... So Richie, in a recent interview, said it is time for a reunion. And of course, rumors have been swirling for a while.
Meaning that Richie comes back.
Richie comes back. And we've always wondered what's going to happen to Phil X. But
he's not going anywhere, Phil X.
No, I think they're going to have exactly. I think he's going to be an extra guitarist in the band.
Oh, yeah. Why not? Yeah.
The band, of course, has said there's no reunion announced, but we all know how this works. They need to organize they need to lay out the tour, right? Before they can announce this whole thing. So,
Richie, what did he do?
Of course there's going to be a reunion.
Richie did something on Instagram or something, and he's like, yeah, I think it's time.
Yep.
So, I mean, Richie's saying it. I don't think John's going to turn around and say, no way, man. Everybody wants to see Richie back with them. I mean, this is going to happen. This is happening.
And let me ask you, and I know the answer, but despite John not being able to sing like he used to, this has to happen, right?
It's got to if Richie's willing to come back, I'm sure John's willing to have him. But
of course,
I don't think there's
all
this. Yeah, I don't think there's bad blood or anything. I mean, like, Richie was getting into the booze a little bit, and he didn't want to play anymore, and
that, and he
that
also
was
left to
his thing.
spend more time with his family, and I think you can credit the guy for that. So
yeah, so it is what it is. So I hope it happens because I'd love to see it. Richie back with John. Like, to me, it's a cool thing because I'm a Bon Jovi fan. Those of you that aren't fans, too bad for you. No one cares, but I think it's going to be fun.
I think the most important reason that the reunion takes place and the tour takes place is to put a bow on this before it's too late, because John is not going to be able to sing much longer at the pace he's going. And so he's not going to last into his like 70s or even 80 like freaking Mick Jagger. So I think you got to put a bow on it now,
As an aside,
let the fans enjoy it.
You bring up Mick Jagger, I have to bring it up. I listened to the Stern interview with Keith Richards. It's fantastic.
Oh, you bet.
Go listen to it if you can listen to it. There's a lot of cool little tidbits in there, and they kind of bash Mick a little bit and make fun of him. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But anyway, but I digress. But this needs to. I agree with you. I don't know. I mean, John, his voice, I don't think can handle these big tours. I just don't think he's got the juice anymore. And, that's going to become apparent. But maybe that doesn't matter. I mean, obviously it doesn't matter with Vince Neil. People still go see Motley Crue when Vince is like a laughing stock. And Bon Jovi isn't. I mean, his voice is...
John is not anywhere
it's
near
not as bad,
stock.
But it's not... I mean, it's not great. So, I mean, I think they need to start thinking about key changes and things like that. And... letting go of some of the old stuff, right? Like Sammy did that gracefully. Sammy can't sing all the songs he sang in the keys that he sang them in. So like Dreams, he does an acoustic version of Dreams.
Yep.
That's like down a step or two, and it's a really nice version of the song. I know that Bon Jovi. I think over the pandemic he did a couple of things where he did some solo acoustic things from his home, and he did versions of Prayer and other songs that were actually really good, I thought, right? Because he just did it in a register that he can sing in, right?
Yes.
So I think that's what he needs to gravitate towards that and let go of this, like, I'm going to be able to go and do Living on a Prayer like I'm, 25 years old again. Like, it's just, and Vince Neil should do the same thing, but that train doesn't seem to be slowing down. But I think that's the same case with the Bon Jovi train. There's a massive demand out there. There's rabid fans. They want to hear those songs. So, I mean, maybe there is no end in sight to this, Dave. I mean, I don't know.
I think nowadays more and more people, and maybe not our generation, but I think the younger, I think more and more people want to just say they saw the band or even just see the band and enjoy it that way rather than the way we remember a lot of these bands being, unbelievably great and iconic. It's just not that way anymore. And so for us to say we're going to go to a show and enjoy it might be a lot different than somebody else who's saying, you know what, I've never seen Bon Jovi. I'm just going to go see him because I want to see the band. I want to be there and see him perform. So I don't know. I think you're looking at kind of two different groups.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. So we'll see. I mean, this is exciting if they're going to come back. And I mean, they speaking of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Richie did come and play with them when they were inducted a few years back.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that was
cool.
And
John and Richie are on good terms.
They are. He wouldn't have come and played with them.
No. The other rock. I mean, we've talked about that. There's been other. There was the when Judas Priest was inducted. K.K. Dowling came back, and there was a lot of there was separate dressing rooms and security and all this stuff, and like he didn't really hang out with the band, and it was just a weird thing, and then he played and did his thing and left. So,
but we didn't get those accounts from the when Richie was with them, did we?
No.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
No, we didn't hear any of that stuff, but who knows, right?
Yeah.
All right, shall we move on?
Let's move on. Are you ready for this?
Let's move on. We're getting into it. Yep.
That's right. It's a dad joke of the week.
Oh, it's never going to get old. All right, dad joke of the week. Let's get this one over with fast, quick. All right. Hey, listen, Matt. Listen, that's sad news. Sad news to give him. My obese parrot died today. Mind you, huge weight off my shoulders. And that was the dad joke of the week.
Wait a minute. Since when are you a pirate?
A parrot? Oh, because I had the parrot? Yeah.
A parrot on you.
Yeah, I'm always a pirate. I don't want to be a pirate.
I don't want to be a pirate. I'll tell you a quick story about the pirate. So we went on with the family. We went on like a schooner trip, like a sailboat, I think everybody knows what a schooner is that's listening. And the captain is known as like the seagull captain because he's like friends with the seagull. So the guy's like captaining the ship. He's behind the wheel and he's got a freaking seagull that just flies down from the sky on his shoulder, and he feeds them. He's got these seagulls trained to land on his shoulder, and it's like this whole shtick he does, and people have a great time. And I'm like, how many times has it shit on your shoulder? He's like, let's not talk about that.
That's good luck.
They made a children's book. Somebody wrote a children's book about him. It's cool. It's really cool.
Wow.
So if you're ever in Gloucester, if you're ever in Gloucester, Massachusetts, which is a lovely seaside fishing port town, you should go check him out. The Seagull Captain. So
very cool.
Like Dave is a pirate.
All right, well, that was the dad joke segment of the week.
Here we go. What else are we going to get into? Oh, you want to hear the music again? Okay, that's enough of that.
All right, there we go. All right, we're going to get into our listener mailbag of the week, and it was empty. So
there's no listener.
Yeah. Come on, guys.
Listeners.
You guys left us blank this week. Hey, listen, if you want to be featured on the show, we will name you, and we'll talk about your topic. Go over to Facebook at Guitar Dads Podcast and join our group. And every week we post a listener mailbag request. That's when you can comment and let us know what you want to hear. So
if you have some burning desire, we will.
But you let us down this week. You really let us down. I don't know why, but you did. We will forgive you just this once.
Just this once.
Okay.
Let's get into it. There actually was real breaking news that broke today that we want to get into a little bit. So here's what's going. This is a big news in Guitar Dad land, especially these two specific guitar dads.
Yep. And we are going to announce it on Patreon. So why don't you head over to patreon.com/GuitarDadsPodcast.
No, we're not going to do that. But so breaking news today that came out was Magnatone amps, which some of you may know.
Hold on. I got to sit down again before you say this.
Yeah, have a collaboration with Billy Gibbons, the one and only. Have announced a partnership with Slash. So Slash, so this means Slash will not be, when he goes out on tour with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators, he will be, instead of a Marshall stack behind him, it will be a Magnatone stack. Now, this has been rumored for some time because there's been pictures from the latest Guns N' Roses tour showing like a cabinet of Magnatone amps in Slash's rig, right? And there was speculation like, wait a minute, is that Richard Fortus's rig? And then the people that were in the know were like, no, that's Slash's rig. He's playing Magnatone amps now, and we think there may be a signature coming. But it was just wild rumors, right? And we're like, wait a minute, like Slash and what? Slash without a Marshall doesn't make any sense. But it's been announced. Now, it hasn't been announced that Slash is like cutting ties with Marshall, and that's the end of his time with Marshall. But he has this thing with Magnatone, and they will be releasing a signature. They've released a press release that says they will be releasing a 100-watt signature Slash head, which will be a version of their. Oh geez, now you put me on the spot with this. Of their 50, I'm not super familiar with these.
I put you on the spot?
You put me on the spot, dude.
You just put yourself on the spot yourself, brother.
No, of course I did. I know. That's what you do when you host a podcast.
I get blamed every week.
The Magnatone. Because
I'm the guy that doesn't know everything.
The Magnatone Super 5980.
Magnatone?
Magnatone. Super 59 M80, which is a 45-watt tube head. They're going to do a 100-watt version for Slash. And the rumor is those are the prototypes that he has been taking on, that he took on tour with him with Guns N' Roses. Now, recently they did a Billy Gibbons signature where they only made like 6 of them, and it's this of the same kind of amp, and it's this ridiculous looking silver crocodile. Now, Dave, you know how partial I am to silver amps. This thing looks unbelievable.
I am. I do know.
It looks unbelievable. Anyway, so Slash is going to this. It doesn't mean Slash is going to be done with Marshall, but if we're honest, his ties with Marshall.
Well, doesn't it kind of mean that?
To be honest with you, his ties with Marshall over the last 20 years haven't been super close because he hasn't released any new signature amps. Maybe not 20 years, but at least like 10 years. No signature amps. He wasn't announced to be a global brand ambassador like he is with Gibson. When you compare Slash's relationship with Gibson to Marshall, it's like his Marshall relationship is non-existent because in the last like 5 years alone, they put out like a dozen Slash signature guitars, right?
Right. But I asked you this earlier today, because I think it matters. Does that actually make a difference that he has not been that active with Marshall in the last 10 years versus how the name, the Slash name in Marshall go
no,
hand in hand,
it's
just
a good
like
point.
Gibson,
It's a
right?
You could
they're
argue
so
yes.
sympathetic. It's ridiculous.
You could argue sympathetic, or no, that's not what you meant to say.
Yeah,
they're so sympathetic, symbiotic.
Yeah, symbiotic. Thank you, Jesus.
I thought you were. I was like, what do you mean they're sympathetic?
Oh my God, it's been a day, man.
But I think you're right because of that relationship you're talking about, Dave. I almost feel like the Silver Jubilee de facto became the Slash signature amp. Right?
You think? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think he is single-handedly responsible for making the Jubilee have that resurgence that it had. They made the 20-watt version. I think he's maybe not single-handedly, but very much so influenced it, right? What other really super famous players can you name that have played a Jubilee? The only one I can really think of is John Frusciante, who kind of famously played him, but not as famously as Slash, right?
This is always like that go-to, because as music fans and musicians, we kind of understand some of this stuff, but to the average music fan, if you were to like do one of these blindfold kind of tests, not blindfolded, but if you were to show the average music fan, a stack of amps behind Slash and it wasn't Marshall, and you said, is there something off with this picture? I think they would say yes, right? Because you were so, even if you don't even know who Marshall is, you were so used to seeing
that logo,
the Marshall stacks behind him and the logo.
That's right.
I think
you're
that
right.
This is right. Just like, this is stunning to me.
It's stunning to me as well. It's like, it's really unbelievable to think that Slash is going to be without his Marshalls. It's like,
and I'd like to know where the relationship fell apart.
I mean, did it? I mean, well, Marshall, was sold to I forget the company name, but
to Zound, the Swedish company.
That's right, Zound. That's right, to Zound, sold by the family, by Jim Marshall's children, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, did that kind of push Slash over the edge? Did that
push Slash over the edge? That's a great question. It's a great speculation. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't.
Did Richard Fortus get to Slash because he does play Magnatone?
Yeah, no. I think that's what. Slash said that he played one with Billy Gibbons, and he played some on some of the Guns N' Roses songs that they recorded recently, which are all terrible. By we made a conscious effort on this podcast.
How do you know it's not the amp then? Jesus.
Not to talk about the new Guns N' Roses songs because they're just not even worth talking about. It's just such a disappointment. So for the record, I'm saying that it's just such a disappointment.
I wrote them all down on a bunch of Kleenex and now I blow my nose.
It's Chinese leftovers. It's not good. So anyway,
I digress. I disagree with that term because I really enjoy Chinese leftovers. Sometimes Chinese food is enjoyed best.
You love
the next
Chinese
day.
Food. I know you do. But not this kind.
I think it's an insult to Chinese food to say these are Chinese leftovers because the songs are so bad.
Oh man, that's really funny. But anyway, let's get into this a little bit about Magnatone amps. What's up with Magnatone amps? Who are they? Where did they come from? What's going on? Why did Billy Gibbons get involved with them?
They sound amazing.
Yeah. So So I've had my eyes on these Magnatones for a while because, of course, you always see Billy Gibbons with them, probably since about, I don't know, what, 2010 and on or so, around there.
Didn't you play one at Matt's Music last weekend? I can't even remember.
No, I didn't. Did they have one in stock there?
I thought they did have
one.
Oh,
damn, and we didn't play it? No, that was dumb.
I think they...
That was a dumb idea. Anyway, Dave and I we should actually talk about our little visit there as well.
Yes.
But, so, they were Magnatone amp was an amp company that was around in the, let's see, they were around more in the, I think it started
back
in
around
the
1860s.
No, it did start in the 40s was the earliest iteration of it, and then it went through like the 70s, and some famous players actually picked up on them, and they made all these different kind of amps. And then a guy that used to work for Ampeg, I forget his name off the top of my head. I had the Wikipedia up, and now I don't have it up because I clicked on something else, of course.
Of course you did.
But and then he revived it like around 2010 and got Billy Gibbons involved, and got some other people involved that know about these vintage amps and have used them for a while, and and revived it, and it's really turned into this boutique kind of high-end thing that has recreated these amps. And it's kind of an unbelievable thing. And then with Billy Gibbons, it's kind of taken on a life, right? So, but it wasn't like, I think they were competing with Fender back in the 60s, but, they weren't as ubiquitous as a Fender. So they're always kind of like a little bit under the radar. So there's that. But then when they were revived, they, some players have picked up on it. We saw the guy that was the lead player for the Black Crowes. He had them. We talked about that when he played with them. And here we are now with fricking Slash. If you
his Magnatone. I don't know what Isaiah Mitchell was playing with the Crowes, which Magnatone, but he sounded absolutely unreal.
Yeah.
Because he was playing orange. He was playing I don't know what orange. He was playing an orange amp, and he had Magnatone and something else. And you could tell when the Magnatone was on. It was just.
Yep.
It was so rich. It was so like in your face.
Yep.
It just was a stunning sounding amp, and I wish I knew what it was.
The other guy the other super famous guy that played Magnatones is Neil Young, who supposedly still uses them sometimes. So Larry Craig, who is Neil Young's guitar tech, also was involved in the kind of
Daniel Craig's brother.
Yeah. Cragg.
Actually, no,
sorry, not Craig. No, Cragg. Larry Cragg. Larry Cragg. He was also involved in the design and the relaunching of these things, and they and there's a new line of them in the route. They actually, I have it right here. They debuted in 2013 at the NAMM show.
So what are the Slash? What are the amps what are they going to be? How many watts the new Slash ones?
They're saying it's going to be 100-watt amp, 100-watt version, which I don't think they have a 100-watt version now.
Are they going to put out 50-watt versions or lower?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Quieter?
I don't think so.
You didn't see that in the release?
I didn't see that.
I wonder.
Let's look at the release again.
You got to imagine that they may in the future, because this is probably going to like catch on like wildfire. I mean, there are so many Slash addicts out there.
It just says 100-watt version of the M80, which is what I talked about earlier. So 100-watt version of the M80. So there you go. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of
so here you go, Matt. Is this okay? You've been kind of you've been toying with ideas of new amps.
No, don't. I knew you were going to ask me, am I going to buy a Magnatone amp?
Of course I'm going to ask you.
And the answer is, of course I'm going to buy one. Let's talk about. Let's talk about this though. These amps, are mega money.
They are. These are expensive.
So the M80 is probably the closest to the Marshall tone because it has the EL84s. These aren't. These are kind of like JCM 800s in that they're not really 2-channel amps. I think you got to like crank them up to get the distorted tones. Although the M80, the one that they made for Billy Gibbons, well, there's a couple of different ones. The latest one, this M80, which is a 45-watt tube, it does have a low high selectable gain. So there is like a higher gain, almost channel. I think it's more like cascading gain than a different channel, but you can switch to like a higher gains setting, almost like a high gain channel. So I haven't really heard those ones. I've heard the other ones that are more kind of cleaner amps, right? More along the lines of a Fendery type of amp. I've heard those. I haven't really heard these kind of more kind of distorted tone Magnatones, so I'm interested to hear them. Obviously, if you listen to Billy Gibbons recently, you've heard them, so he's using them and he's doing it. So anyway, they're cool. I mean, they look really cool. They have the retro look, but they're mega money. So the Twilighter stereo combo, which is a 22-watt one-channel amp, it's got spring reverb, vibrato, and tremolo. $4,600.
That's expensive.
But the the Super 59 M80 is $3,000, which isn't totally out of, we had this discussion last week about the new Supro amps. $3,000, not completely out of line for a more boutiquey, type of an amp, handmade and hand wired and all that. So I don't know, but Dave, do I need to get one of these? Yeah, probably. I'll probably need one at some point.
Yeah, of course you absolutely do. Listen, you've been toying with, you've been kind of like, just scratching the reverb and the Facebook market, well, reverb itch, just tooling around looking for other amp ideas. And now this news comes out. Of course, this is where you're gonna go.
Of course, it's gonna like raise my eyebrows on these things a little bit. Absolutely. Yeah, there's a 15-watt head that looks really awesome, called the Super 15, and it has a built-in speaker emulation, kind of like the Sur stuff and the Rev stuff has. So
I think this is definitely a road you're going to go down, and this is very interesting news today. We'll have to see where this thing goes.
Let's see where it goes.
There was another new amp that has been released. Well, we've been waiting for this.
We already talked about it somewhat, but yeah.
we talked about it somewhat. The new Mark Tremonti signature amp, the MT100. Everybody knows the MT15, which is a great amp. This 100-watt beast. See, if you don't go Magnatone, I think you got to go with one of these things.
No, I definitely don't. No, I don't.
You need this.
No, I
beast
definitely
of a
don't. You need
amp.
one, Dave. You don't have enough
thing.
amps at all. You definitely need some more amps.
Yeah, I need a 100-watt amp in my basement.
You do.
Okay.
You definitely do.
Yeah.
Did they say the price on this, Dave?
Yeah, these are going to come in at. Let me look at. I just had it up on my screen.
Oh, I got it.
Let me look.
$1,849.
$1,849. Yep.
That's
impressive.
Great deal. He said that in his rig rundown.
You're getting a 3-channel amp. These things sound incredible. It's 100 watts.
6L6s.
6L6s. There are independent presence, master, bass, and middle treble and gain control for each channel. Well, for the clean channel has the volume and
that's it.
No, not the gain, but that's it. That's the only difference. Effects loop. It's got everything.
It's a fire breather. It's a fire breather.
It's a fire breather. If you're into this kind of thing, I think these amps. I mean, I've listened to some demos. I watched the rig rundown. I could be. I don't know with the Slash news today. I can't. Certainly not in the. I'm not in the ballpark.
I told you to get an
Magnatone
MT15,
amp,
Dave. I told you an M15 is an amp for you.
I have been looking at the.
But then you got a Black Star or something. I don't know.
But they got the Black Star. No, but I sold the Black Star. I got
That's
the orange.
True.
I got the OR15.
You got the OR, and then there's nothing wrong with the OR. The OR15 is a great amp.
But the MT15 is great. We
the
talked about last week the St. James, the Black Star St. James.
Yeah,
I could get into that. I just want to clarify too, by the way, because of the high proof bourbon. I'm going to blame the high proof bourbon last week.
Oh yeah,
that I did not clarify.
There was all kinds of misinformation in there. I had to fly
all kinds of misinformation.
I had to fly in a post production correction to what I said. So there you go.
Yeah, I wanted to clarify because I don't think I said it. I'd have to listen back on the pod. But the St. James, so you get in the St. James Black Star St. James amps, you get a choice of an EL34 power section or a 6L6.
Cool.
I do believe I played the 6L. I know I played the 6L6.
Okay.
And when I said the cleans or Fender, when I said Fendery, I was obviously referring to the clean channel. The gain channel on those amps are unreal.
Oh,
I
really?
did not
Okay.
comment on those,
So
but when
they
I
do have
said
it, yeah, because
we
you
had
were
been
talking
talking
about them
about,
being clean amps. Yes, you
yeah,
were. Yeah.
but the clean channel is really nice. The cleans, and I also really enjoyed the cleans on the HT20 that I sold.
But they're two
Love
channel amps,
those
is what you're
cleans.
saying.
They're 2 channel amps.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll tell you what, the MT15 in terms of the sound of how big of an amp it sounds like, it blows that OR 15 away, Dave. Like you think you're playing 100.
Absolutely.
You almost think you're playing a 100-watt amp with this MT15. It sounds huge. Now, granted, I didn't play it with a band or anything, but it sounds huge for what it is. It just does, and I'm sure this 100-watt is just a freaking, like, it just probably blows your head right off. So
yeah, I
so
can't even imagine what that. Yeah, but I certainly don't need a 100-watt amp in my basement.
You certainly don't need it, but you would like it.
I would absolutely like it, but I have kind of toyed with the idea of the MT15, and I do casually look, and
But I said this before.
Maybe one day.
I said this before. I think coming in for PRS to come in at $1849, you're competing directly with the.
That's a price, man. That's great.
It is. You're competing directly with the EVH, which is exactly the market they're going after, and as well as like the Engels and the what are the other kind of Randall, those other kind of metal, the PV, of course, they're all kind of in that price range. So Mark was very smart, and PRS was very smart to say we're going after the metal guys. There's amazing metal amps for sub 2000. Not everybody has like the Miles Kennedy diesel money, right? To get the diesel or the Mezzacabra or any of those more kind of, boutique-y, fire breathing metal amps. These, in this more affordable range, this is what it is. And I think it's great. And I think he's going to do well with it. We'll see.
No, he absolutely will. It'll be interesting to. I think we're going to have to go try one out just for the hell of it.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely have to plug into it. Speaking of trying things out, we did go to Matt's music last week because we had a nice little visit with our buddy Alex on a Copper Sound pedal and the whole crew. Shout out to them. We had a great time down there. He showed us around the shop. And we had fun. Yeah, we had fun. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to Copper Sound Pedals.
Listen, guys, we had Alex on the pod. We've talked about Copper Sound a lot. We play their pedals. Go check out Copper Sound. Alex and the gang, they are doing things right. And we having the opportunity to kind of see the operation firsthand. That you are getting a quality.
You're getting high quality stuff. Yeah.
Piece of gear.
I watched these guys solder these things, and I went really close to them and looked over their shoulder and breathed heavily, to see if I could shake them. And they did. It
was very awkward.
I know. They were
really
like, "What
awkward.
the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "I just want to see how good you are at this."
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
And they were great.
No, I didn't do that. But just a great crew.
Thanks to Alex from Copper
us.
Sound, a great crew down there. Listen, you're not going to get a better quality pedal than one of these things. So go out and check out any of their offerings.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout it out. But let's talk about Matt's, Dave, because every time we go to Matt's,
yes,
the first visit to Matt influenced my, is what put me over the edge for the Amplified Nation. And we tried a couple of things out there last week, I should say, which were awesome. One of which was the Friedman PT 2.0, whatever they're calling it.
Yeah.
That's a little, talk about a little fire breathing 20-watt amp.
That's a little fire breathing amp.
That
tickled my fancy, and I've been looking at them ever since.
Yeah, that's really cool. I also played the, oh man.
I've never heard of the Oga. Who makes the Oga?
I was just trying to remember the Sir Ombre. The Sir Ombre
yes, you did.
amp, which is like a Fendery type amp. It's supposed to be like that brown panel Fender amps that were made for a short time. It's that kind of thing that they're trying to recreate. Pretty cool. I thought it sounded great. And we didn't spend too much time there. There was other like amazing Friedman amps. I think there might have been a Magnatone that we neglected to try. We just couldn't try everything. We were talking a lot and, having a fun time playing guitars and stuff, and didn't end up. And I felt bad. Like, it's not it's not like Guitar Center. This is a boutique store. Everything is really nicely set up. The people that work there want to be able to set up the amp for you. I didn't want to have them running around plugging in amps that I wasn't going to buy. So, but we always try at least a couple just because we can't help ourselves.
Listen, when you go into a shop like that and you kind of, most of the people that work at these places understand that you're a kid in a candy store sometimes, and you're not going to buy everything, but you do want to try things. And they're very respectful of that. And and you also have to be respectful back. Like, listen, I'm not going to try everything in the shop. I'm not going to pull down every guitar just because I want to play it. To Matt's point, like, they, go, if you're in the local area, if you live in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, go check out Matt's Music in South Weymouth.
They ship, but they ship worldwide. I don't know if worldwide, but they ship all over the place. And, if you're looking for a boutique thing, they're a big Sur dealer. Every time I pick up a Sur guitar there, I'm just blown away. Dave, I'm going to have to eventually own a Sur guitar as well. They're just so nice.
They did make the announcement that they're kind of done with 2-Rock because they think 2-Rock sucks.
That's true. They said 2-Rock amps are no longer up to snuff. No, just kidding. People keep buying them all. They can't keep them in stock. They are a 2-Rock dealer. So if
Sorry, Philip.
So if you're looking for a 2-Rock, amp or a cab, definitely give them a call. They're great. It's just a great store. Great people that are running it, and just help them out. Help out, these stores that are keeping it real like this. So it's not a big place. It's not a massive operation. It's a small kind of local store that is doing well on the internet and kind of, plays in this boutique world that we all love so much. So anyway, shout out to them again.
And guys, we have a lot more gear and other stuff to get to, including a bashing that is long deserved. And we're going to bring that over to the Patreon right now. For now, we're going to wrap up this week's episode. Thank you to our loyal listeners. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. Thanks for coming back all the time and checking out what we're giving you. And if you were listening to this for the first time, please come back next week. You might like it. And we'd love to have you on board. Check us out at Guitar Dads Podcast over on Instagram, where we post clips of all our pods, over on YouTube. You can find us over there where we post all our podcasts and other stuff. And also our private Facebook group. Come join at Guitar Dads Podcast there. And what else am I thinking? Oh, Patreon. If you want to support the show, go over to patreon.com.
I think you've plugged Patreon enough, Dave.
I'm going to keep plugging it. Patreon.com/Guitar Dads Podcast. Come over there. If you want an extra episode, that's where you're going to get it.